Welcome all, welcome to this lecture of Object-Oriented Programming 1. Today we'll be formally starting the Unit 1, that is Introduction to Java and Elementary Programming. We have just seen an overview before. Okay, let me show the disclaimer. Okay, let's start now. Okay, so let's start with Unit 1. So we have already seen that Java is a popular object-oriented programming language, and it can be used basically for mobile applications, desktop-based applications, like especially Android apps. In mobile applications, Android apps, mostly Android apps are made using Java. Nowadays, Kotlin has also appeared, but still many people prefer using Java to make Android apps. Web applications can also be made. Web enterprise applications can be made. Web servers and application servers can also be made in Java. Games can also be made. Database connectivity and lots of more things can be done using Java. Okay. Now the question is, why use Java? So basically it works on different platforms. It is platform independent, that we have already seen, right? We have already seen how the platform independent nature of Java is executed, how we use that nature, right? In previous lectures. It can run on Windows, Mac, Linux, or even IoT based machines. Okay. So that's why it's one of the most popular programming languages in the world, and it is easy to learn and simple to use. Almost the syntax and semantics match similar to C and C++ programming languages, and C sharp is almost similar to Java. It is open source and free, and it is secure, fast, and powerful. We have seen how this becomes secure and fast, right? In last sessions, we have seen how the Java language is secure and how it has been made fast using just-in-time compiler. There is a huge community support, so if there is an issue that you are not able to solve, then if you just Google it out, you will get lots of forums where lots of people provide you a support regarding that particular thing, right? And since Java is object oriented language, right, it helps us to give a clear structure to program. And the best part is it allows the code to be reused. This is the best part. Code reuse is one of the major things that people do, and it just lowers the development costs. And Java is close to C++ and C sharp, so it makes easy for the programmers to switch to Java or vice versa. Okay, so easily programmers can learn this language, and those who know C sharp can, or those who know C++ can easily learn this particular language. Okay. Now there are various Java APIs. One is Java Standard Edition. You will be learning this particular. You will be focusing on this Java J2SE Java Standard Edition, and then comes Java Enterprise Edition. This you might be learning in your next semester, advanced Java subject. Okay. Then there are Java Micro Edition, Java FX is there. This is also you will be learning in this semester, and Java cards are there, and Java web services are there. So lots of APIs are there along with Java and Standard Edition, and other editions are also there. Okay. Now we have already seen what is JDK. It provides us development kit, okay, that includes not only JRE but also compilers and other tools like Java Doc, Java Debugger, etc., etc. Right? And we know that we need JDK to compile and run the program. Okay, if you have JRE, then you only can run the program. You cannot compile it, right? Because JRE is a part of JDK. JDK includes JRE, and JRE includes JVM inside it, and also JRE helps get browser plugins. Browser plugins can also be installed in browser, so that applet support can be provided. Okay, applets can run on browsers. So there are these applets are kind of Java programs that can run on the browsers. Okay, web browsers. And so if you need to run Java program, you only need JRE. Okay. Then we have seen what is JVM. JVM is nothing but an abstract machine. It's a specification that provides a runtime environment, okay, in which the Java bytecode can execute. So the place where Java bytecode executes, that is JVM. Okay, and you can check this out that if you install JDK, if you install JDK, then JRE is a part of it, where JVM is a part of it, and there are other set of libraries and other files available. And for JDK, you have development tools like Java C command, Java commands, and lots of other commands are there. Okay. Then there are various integrated development environments. Now, what is an integrated development environment? Okay, you might ask, what is the use of IDE? Why do we need IDEs, right? So the first thing is that basically IDEs provide you with editors where you can edit your programs. Okay, IDEs also provide you with compilers or interpreters that are necessary to run the program. Okay, IDE also provide you with debuggers and the debugging environment. Okay, and IDE also provide you lot of other things like plugins, etc., etc. Plugins are there, right? Then logs are there, lots of other systems are, lots of things are there provided by IDEs. Okay, so each and every IDE has its own feature or its own advantage, right? So these are some of the common used IDEs. You can either use Eclipse, or you can go for NetBeans IDE, or you can even use IntelliJ IDEA. Okay, and nowadays people even use VS Code. Okay. Now we have already seen a simple program, right? Let me just revise it for you. This is hello world.java file in which we have written a class. This class is declared like this: public class hello world. Public means it should be publicly available. Class is the keyword. Okay. So see, these two are keywords. Public and class are keywords. Whereas this is the name of the class. This name is identifier. We will see later what is identifier. Okay. Then again, this public is a keyword, static is a keyword, void is also keyword, and main is the name of the method. Over here again, you have this string, which is data type, and args is the name of that variable, and it is a string array. Okay, and here we have system.out.println, which will print the hello world. So in C language, what did we used to do? We used to do something like this: printf and hello world, right? This is what we used to do. But in Java, we will be using this. What? The println method. Where is that println method available? From out object. Where is that out object located? Inside the system class. Okay. The only thing is this goes over here. Okay. So there is some changes in the structure of the use of the syntax of this printf also. Here in println, you do not use a percentage and all those things which we used to do in printf. Okay. Then we also saw some comments. We have also seen some comments like this /. This is a single line comment. Whatever you write after it becomes commented. Before that is not commented. This is not commented. This is commented. Okay. Then comes multi-line comments. Here the code will here the comment will start and here it will end. So whatever will come in between, whatever number of lines come, all those are commented. Okay. So commented lines or commented code is not executed. This is not executed or not even compiled. Okay. And the last part, third part is this one. The third type of uh, comment is this one. That is the documentation comment. These are documentation comment. You can use this to uh, know to generate the Java document. So there is a command called Java doc, right? And if you give this command, with this command you give a file name. Suppose this hello.java is a file name which has got this kind of comment, right? Documentation comment. And if you give that hello.java file name to this java doc command, so what it will do is it will read this hello.java file, and whatever these kind of comments are there, these kind of documentation comments are there, those comments will be read and will be converted into an HTML file. So Javadoc takes this and puts that into an HTML based document. Okay, so that is easily readable. Okay, so if you go to Java Docs, if you search for Java Docs, you will find, if you go to net, then you search for Java Doc, you will see the help center of Oracle, in which there is this Java Docs are available. Okay, so here if you go to contents, then there are lots of contents available over here. And if you see here, these for this commands also everything help is given, right? And now let us go to a particular class name. If you go for class names, then you will be able to see. Okay, here it is, Java SE8 documentation. So let me click on this Java SE8 documentation, and here you can find various tutorials. There you can find compatibility guide and lots of other things are there. How to get started with Java, right? And you can go to API documentation also. See, this is API documentation. This is what I was talking about. This API documentation basically gives you all the APIs available. See, these are packages. These are what? Packages that are available in Java. Okay, these all packages. For example, if I say this java.applet package that is used to display applet or use applet, and java.io is used to do input output, and all the classes are noted over here. Okay, so if you click on a particular class, say for example, let me search for string class. Okay, or let me go to io, java.io. Okay, so here you will see lots of interfaces are there, lots of classes are there, right? So let's go to, if we go to java.lang, then there are also lots of other classes. See, the system class is over here. You see, this is what we are using. The system class we are using, which is available in java.lang, which is the package java.lang. This java.lang package is automatically imported. We don't need to import it specifically. Okay, and this system has got various, see, check this out, these are the fields, these are the variables it has got. Error, in and out. This out variable we are using, it is of print stream type. It is also static, so we directly use it. This is how we use the system.out.println, right? Because this println method is the method of this print stream class, of which this out is the object. Okay, so once you will understand the classes and objects, you will come to know how this basically println is invoked from out and how out is being used from system. So this is the API documentation. I would suggest you people always refer this, keep this with you, this API documentation part with you. Okay, and I'm giving you the link to you. So always make it a bookmark and save it as Java SC8 API. This is how you save it. Okay, so that's very very important because it is very very much useful in regular day-to-day doubts solving. Okay, let's continue now. So now in this week we will be starting with variables, data types, and all the other things. Okay, so there are two types of data types available in Java: primitive and non-primitive. Okay, so basically primitive types are 8 basic types, that is byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, and char. So you must have seen most of this types in C and C++, right? But you might not have seen this boolean, right? And this boolean is much new to you. So if you see, byte is the smallest data type. As per the name, it needs a byte only to get stored. Short is somewhat bigger than that. Int is much bigger than that. Okay, so the int data type of Java is almost bigger than C language int data type. C language int data type almost approximately takes 2 bytes, whereas here the integer int takes almost 4 bytes. And long is there, which is much bigger than int. Float is there, where you can use decimal point numbers with decimal point. Double, extra precision you want on decimal points, double is used. Boolean, it represents true or false values, and only true and false are being used, no other things, not even 0 and 1. Char for single characters. Okay, and what if you want multiple characters? Then you have string. In C we used to make character arrays, but here we don't need to make character array. Here is a special data type called string available, which can create a string directly. So you can simply say string s, that's a variable name, is equal to abc. That's it, your string is created. And make sure this string is not equivalent to an array. No, a string is not similar to an array. In Java, strings and arrays are different. Understand? Okay. Then we have arrays, which can contain primitive data types and also non-primitive data types objects, like array of strings, array of objects of classes, right? Or array of primitive data types. So these are some of the data types that are available in Java. Okay. Now there is something called as automatic conversion and typecasting that you need to know. Okay. So see what happens is some values get automatically converted and some values need special typecasting, explicit typecasting. So this part, automatic conversion, refers to implicit conversions that happen in Java, and this part refers to the explicit, okay, explicit conversion that we need to do in Java. So for example, if I say I suppose say int, or let's say byte b is equal to 8. So what will happen? See, in Java there are various literals. You need to know about the literals first. Okay, so Java literals are something like this. All numbers without decimal point are basically what? Integer. So for example, it can be 0 to 9 or a combination of it. It can be 0 to 9 or a combination. Star means combination of it. Okay. It will be what? Integer. Then comes other part is all numbers with decimal point, right? With decimal point are by default taken as double, not float, double. Okay. So basically, see, Java is a very, very strictly typed language. What is the property of Java? It is strictly typed language. Okay. So if you say something like this, that float float a, or let's say float f1 is equal to 2.5, this will give you error. Why this will give you error? Because this 2.5, by default this Java literal is of double type, which is a bigger size than the float. So you cannot assign a bigger sized value to a smaller sized variable. So see, here also it is happening. Here we have declared a double pi is equal to 3.1314, and we are declaring a variable int IPI, and we are trying to assign this value to this IPI through this pi. But that is not possible. Why? Because pi is of double type, which has got decimal points, and it's a bigger data type, whereas int is a smaller data type. So what you have to do is you have to do the typecasting. So what you have to do is you put this data type int in front of it in brackets. So this value, this particular value gets converted into an int, and then it gets transferred to this variable. So what gets transferred over here? Value 3. Because whatever is here, it gets truncated. Okay. So this value gets 3, the value 3 gets transferred over here. Okay. So this thing also will not work. So what will work? You will have to basically write it like this: float f1 is equal to 2.5 f. So you attach an f to it, that will work. That is not an issue. Okay. Any doubts in this? Please let me know. Java is a very, very strictly typed language. So some conversions it does not allow. Like what kind of conversion? Conversion from bigger data type to smaller data type. Those kind of conversions it does not allow automatically, right? So for those kind of conversions, what you have to do? You have to use explicit typecasting. And how we do explicit typecasting? By putting the data type in front of the variable with brackets. That variable's data type gets changed for that particular instance. Okay, that might be used in expression or even in an assignment. Here it is being used for assigning operation. Okay. And implicit conversions many times happen. So for example, see, all numbers, as I told you, all numbers are integers, right? So this 8 is also integer. But when you assign it to a byte variable b is a byte variable which is much smaller data type than integer. Still it works. It does not give you any error. Why? Because it is in the range of the byte variable. Okay. If you try to do something like this, byte b is equal to 88888, this will not work. This will not execute. Okay. This will not at all work. Why? Because this value is much bigger than the range of byte data type. Understand? Even though it is integer, it will not work. And even though this is integer, this will work because that is in the range of this byte variable. Understand? So you should understand the difference between what? Difference between the implicit conversions, that is automatic conversions, and explicit conversions, that is typecasting. Okay. This has to be done explicitly by the code. Okay, whereas this happens automatically in Java. Okay, and we'll see identifiers today. So basically, uh, we need to use variables and methods and all these things in program, right? So basically, all Java variables must be having some unique names in order to identify them. And the names that we use to identify all these things are called identifiers. So it's not that identifiers are used for variable names only. Identifiers can be used for uh, variables or variable names, then method names. Those can also be used for um, class names and can also be used for package names. Okay, so what is a variable? It is nothing but a simple value that is used to store some. It's a simple named memory location that is used to store some value, right? Similarly, what is a method? Method is something that does some processing. Okay, so this is suppose a method one. So this method does some processing. Okay, and what is a class? Class comes on top of it. Okay, class comes on top of it. Class, suppose my class. Okay, class comes on top of it. And what is a package? Package comes on top of class. The package specifies in which folder this class is stored. Package, technically speaking, package is nothing but the folder. A folder in which the class is stored. Why do we need folders? Why do we need packages? Because there may be different classes with the same name, right? Suppose let's say I'm getting the I say that I want to get my class, I want to get a class named my class from all of you, right? So even every one of you will say, every one of you will type the class name as my class. Then what will happen if I save one my class and other save other my class in the same folder? Then obviously it will overwrite, right? So if for that not to happen, we separate them by folders, and we call these folders as packages. So package will separate it. So what we can do is, then what I'll suggest is, then you put your enrollment name or your name or enrollment number into package, and then you say class my class. Right? So in that way, your my class will be different from other my class, other packets my class. Okay. So packages are used to separate the classes. Okay, and also group some classes, related classes, and we'll see it in later on when we go much deeper into packages. And class is used to hold this kind of data structure. It has also got the data and the methods to access that data. Okay, understand? That is a class. So see, now here I can show you that there are basically in this program I have used 4 identifiers. Which 4 identifiers I have used? One is, let's start with the variable name. This I is the variable name. That is an identifier that is used to identify the variable I. Method 1 is an identifier, that is method name, that is used to identify the method. Okay. My class is an identifier that is used to identify the class. Okay. And my package is the identifier that is used to identify the package. So remember, identifiers cannot be used. We cannot use keywords for identifiers. Keywords are different. Keywords are reserved words. Okay, what are keywords? Keywords are basically the reserved words. Okay, so we cannot use identifiers, or sorry, we cannot use keywords in place of identifiers. So for example, if I say I want to declare a variable like this, int, and the name of the variable will be float. No, this will not work. This is not allowed. Why? Because this float is what? It is basically data type. So you cannot, and it's a reserved word, it's a keyword. So you cannot use a keyword as an identifier, as simple as that. But if you declare it like this, suppose int and float, that's fine. There is no issue in that. That's fine. Why? Because Java is case sensitive. This float is different than this float. This is a keyword. Float written in small case is a keyword, whereas this float is not a keyword. It's not a reserved word because it is written in uppercase. So see, this myWhere and myWhere, these two variable names are different. Okay, if I type it like this, int myWhere, comma myWhere, so both are different. Why? Because here this single v is capital and here all these are small case. You see, here all are small case except the single v, and here all are small case. So both of these variables are different. That's it. You see, Java is case sensitive. Make sure you remember this point. Okay. So if you write something like this, my class, if this is the class name that you written, right? And now suppose if you say that I want to use it as my class, so this will not work. Suppose if you while running this program, you give the command like this, Java and my class, that will not work. Why this will not work? Because the C is not capital over here, whereas here the C is capital. You see that? So Java is very case sensitive. Make sure that you do not do this kind of typing mistakes while making your programs. Okay, especially people do typing mistakes with respect to identifiers, right? You see, this my class is an identifier, that is a class name, right? So people mostly do mistakes with the identifiers a lot of time. Okay, so basically identifiers should be unique names. Okay, and what are the naming conventions? There are always a naming conventions for variables and all the other things in most of all the languages. So here also there are some naming conventions, like names can contain letters, digits, and special symbols like underscore and dollar signs only. Okay, and it must begin with a letter and it cannot contain white space. So if I say that this is int a space b, no, this is not valid. This white space will separate this space. What is white space? It is nothing but a white space can be a space, a tab, or a new line, anything. So see here, a space separates this two variables. A is a separate variable now, B is a separate variable now. But that is not the syntax. If you want to declare multiple variables, then you should put a comma here, right? But and if you want to use it together in the name, then you should be declaring like this, A, B, no space in between. So this will not work because it expects a comma over here, and this will work. Okay, understand? So it cannot contain a space in the name. Third thing is it can also begin with dollar and underscore. Okay, you can easily say int underscore a. That is totally valid. Okay, then names are case sensitive. We saw these two are different, and reserved words cannot be used as names. We saw that identifiers cannot be used, keywords cannot be used in place of identifiers, right? So that's all we saw. So see, these are some of the variable data types. Okay, int stores whole numbers, that is integers, that are without decimals. Okay, such as these positive and negative values. Okay, and float is there, which stores floating point numbers with decimal points. Okay, but specifically these are literals. These are please remember, these are double literals. So if you want to assign the value to float, you will have to say something like this: float f1 is equal to 10.55 f. Then this will work. Because if you just write 10.55, then that is nothing but a double literal. and you cannot assign a bigger size letter to a smaller size data type. Okay, so you have to assign an f to it. Similarly, in case of integer, if you say int I and if you assign some value to it which is much bigger than its size, then you have to assign L to it. Then that will work, because now see this, but this is not possible. You cannot assign a long to an integer. This L means a long. Okay, so what you will have to do is you will have to define it as long. Long I is equal to this will work. This even will not work. If you say long I is equal to 9999999, every literal is by default taken as an integer, but this size is greater than integer size. So this itself will give you error. It will say you have to attach, you have to make it as a long literal. This size does not fit in integer literal. Even though you are assigning it to a long, this will give you error. So you have to use it like this only. Understand? So each literal has also got its type and size associated with it. Remember this thing. Okay. So there is int data type, float data type, there's char data type such as single characters. There is boolean data type which contains only true and false. See, boolean data types are defined like this. Boolean b is equal to true, or maybe you can say boolean c is equal to false. Okay, now this false and true are keywords, so you cannot use even it with you cannot use it as variable names. So for example, if I say false, float and true, so I want to make the variable name true, variable name as true. No, this is not possible because these are keywords. Okay, what are these? These are keywords. Okay, and you cannot even use it like this. I just now told you that Java is a strictly typed language, right? So in integer in C language you could have used something like this. If this I is equal to 0, right, this 0 means a it's a false value, and non-zero values are considered as true. That thing has been taken in C language. So in C language we could have used something like this: while I, hence while I is non-zero, do the while statement or do the looping. Okay, but whereas that thing is not possible in Java, this thing is not possible in Java. Java requires only boolean data type and true and false values to be compared for this kind of conditions. Okay, so you cannot even assign it like this: int I is equal to false. This does not mean that I will be assigned value 0. You cannot even assign something like this: boolean b is equal to 1. No, these two things are not at all possible. Okay, why? Because these are not at all compatible data types. These are not compatible data types. Understand? Then comes data type string, which is a collection of characters, but not an array of characters. Remember that. Okay, and this is how you define the variables: data type, then variable name, and then equal to value. Okay, so this is how you define a string: string name equal to, in double quotes, John. So those are about variables. Okay, now let me show you some programs that we can run. Basically, let me go to this and check this out. This is a simple program that we use to run, okay, to say hello world to the people. The first program that we always run in any particular language is hello world program. Okay, now let me show this second program. This second program deals with lots of things, like it has got declarations of integer values, it has got declaration of float variables. See over here, if I say 10.1 f, then it works. If I remove this f, check this out guys properly. If I remove this f, suddenly it will start giving me an error. You can see over here errors coming. What is the error? Incompatible types, possible lossy conversion from double to float. So it is saying if you will convert this from double to float, there is a possible loss of conversion. Okay, because double is a bigger data type, float is a smaller data type, so there will be some truncating happening. So this is not compatible. So you see this 10.1 is a double literal, so it cannot be assigned to float. It gives us error. So I have to attach F to it. Similarly, this long L, I'm writing this 299999, it gives me error. What is the error? Integer number too large. Integers, this is not the range that integer can cover, so it says integer number too large. So here we have to attach L to it. As soon as we attach L, this number becomes a long number and you can assign it to a long variable. You see that? See, short is of about 2 bytes. So this range is okay for it. But as soon as you go out of its range, it will start giving you error. What? It says incompatible types, possible loss of conversion from int to short. You see that? So this is not allowed at all. Understand? So you have to assign the values to the variables which are in the range of its data type. Okay, make sure which are in the range of its data type. If, for example, if we use byte, suppose we use byte. Okay, byte b is equal to, now I say 256. So it is saying me that incompatible types, possible loss of conversion from int to byte. See that? So it's now not like that I have to put here I. No, that will also not work. Or B. No, that will also not work. I have to put this value inside the range. Okay. So if I say 255, no, it's not working. So let me take it to 127. That's it. It is working. Right? So it is saying may split the declaration. That's fine. That's just warning. I say 128, it is out of range. It starts giving error. So the range of byte is about minus 128 to plus 127. So if I make it minus, this will work. You see what is the range of byte? From minus 128 to plus 127. Similarly, the shorts range is minus 32768 to plus 32767. If I try to remove this minus, it will give me error because 32768 is not a valid short value or not in the range. So I give it minus, that works. Okay. If you want to give it positive, then I have to just reduce it by 1. Okay. So that is about what? And see, here the boolean is given the value true. A string is equal to ABC. And see, here I have declared some variables. A equal to 10, then byte is equal to B is equal to 3, and then we say a C equal to A plus B. We print over here C. How do we print it? Along with the string, we concat the value of C. So that will get printed. Okay. And then we can even directly use, see, these are what? These are expressions. Okay. So we can directly use these expressions. Okay. This kind of expressions can be directly used over here in println. So you see here we are using a minus b, a into b, but here we have to do what? We have to use brackets. If we don't use brackets, it will give us error. So check this out. If I remove the brackets, it will start giving me error. Okay. What does it say? It says that bad operand types for binary operator minus. You see that? So I have to put it in a bracket over here so that doesn't give me error. And similarly, check this out. Here, what if I use this float, if I don't use this float, see what happens. I will run this program and I will see the output. A divided by B is 10. What is A? 10. B is 3. So obviously it should be 3.333, right? But that is not the case. Why? Because here in this place, A divided by B, integer division is happening, right? So what you have to do is make any one of the number as float by typecasting. So you put float in bracket with A or with B. So any one number becomes float, the float division starts happening. So now see what happens. I run this program. A divided by B is 3.333. You see that? So these are some of the programs, okay, that I will give you. And the third program is also something like this. Now this third program is on using the expressions. So see what I've done is I've made a value of a double variable of value 120, and now I've converted this inches into meters by this formula, inch into 0.0254, and then I print that inches, this much inch is this much meters. Okay, what do I just print? I say 120 inch is 3.048 meters. So this is the simple program that is used to convert an inch value into meter value by this formula. So I would suggest, I will give you this task to you people. What you people do is use this program, okay, and try to convert it. Okay, fine. So that's it for today. I'll give you the links for this particular program also. Okay, let me just take the attendance and stop the recording. If you have any doubt, people can ask me. Okay.